Greetings. We're going to try to uh, do an Eclipse introduction today. I've started up my version of Eclipse. If you notice, I've installed it. This is the initial screen you're going to get if you haven't done anything else with Eclipse. Notice there's a welcome screen up here, or welcome tab. We are going to bypass that. We're going to close that up. We are assuming now that you have installed and you have selected your workspace. Brief word, a workspace is going to be something you can put many folders in, and then each folder, or many projects, and then each project can have many programs. Usually, perhaps each week you can have a separate workspace or separate project. So we're going to create our project from there. Okay, we have our empty Eclipse IDE right here. Okay, so what do we want to do? We want to create a Hello World Java project. In order to do that, we first have to create a project. File, New. Now this is sort of critical. We have to create a Java project, not any kind of project, not any of these. I don't see, you may or may not see Java project in there. If you don't, you'll see something like project with 3 dots after it. Go ahead and click project and then locate Java project. Next. Pretty much we're going to accept defaults on our projects from here on in. We are going to select a project name. I'm going to select mine. I'm going to say it's Hello World. And I'm going to say create the new project in the workspace, and I'm going to say use an execution environment of my Java 6.0 or 1.6. Sometimes they refer to it as 6.0, sometimes 1.6. That's the environment that we want to use. And then we're going to, so that's our Java runtime environment. The project layout. Now, you can use, the default is to keep your class files and source files separately. That's good, but for simplicity, I'm going to click Use Project Folders as root for source and class files. In fact, I'm going to make it the default for my workspace because using the source as an extra file in there sometimes confuses folks. So I'm going to say default the source and output to the project. All this is going to do is not create separate source files. I could click finish, but let's just see what's going to come up next. We'll click the next. And there's some projects, libraries, and things like that which we need or could use, but I'm going to just say finish, and now we have created a Java project. Now, this kind of project is associated with the Java perspective. A perspective is like a group of windows, and we want to use the Java perspective or Java group of windows. So I'm going to say, remember my decision. I'm going to say yes. Take just a minute. It's now writing information to the file that you selected as your workspace. Here I selected a workspace named CSC151/workspace. Okay, so we now have our project. If I open it up, you'll see that the only thing in there is a Java runtime. Now that we have our project, now I want to create a class in there. The class we're going to select is Hello World. It's the simplest program that we can think of in Java. So in order to create a class, I'm going to create it just within Eclipse. I can also drag and drop a pre-edited file into my project, but I'm going to create it separately. I'm going to say File, New, Class. I click that. It's going to take just a minute. I can call it anything I want, but what I want is I'm going to call it Hello World. Notice I used the camel case type of naming. I used an uppercase H, uppercase W here. I'm going to take most of the defaults here. I'm not going to put it into a package, even though Eclipse has given me a little bit of a warning. We'll talk about packages later. And I can create some method stubs, and since this is my first program and I know I want to have a main method, I'm going to say, Eclipse, would you start that off for me? And I'm going to say, then I'm just going to say finish. And it's going to create a shell of a program. And sure enough, there's my hello world.java. I'll let it complete. And you see it made a class. This tab has the editor. Let me move this up just a little bit, our fairly small program. It also generated some comments. This is a multi-line comment. This is a single-line comment. This is just some things that Eclipse is going to do for you where you can update it later on. I'm going to hit the enter key, and this is my editor. Okay, I'm just going to use system .out.println hello world. Now notice a couple of things. The parameter I'm passing to hello world or system out.println is a string. It's enclosed in double quotes. Those double quotes are then enclosed in parentheses, and I end my statement with a semicolon. Notice if I don't have something like that, Eclipse will automatically alert me, and it will, if I hover over there, it'll say insert a semicolon to complete the block. Sometimes Eclipse will offer pretty good suggestions on the problem with your program, and sometimes it may not, but it's always useful to take a look. So that looks pretty much like our hello world. Pretty simple. I can go up here and save my work, clicking the save icon. I can also click, it's grayed out now because I already saved it. If I make any type of change at all, you notice I could go up here to File and click Save. Okay, so now I'm pretty much done with my first program. I've done all my editing in this editor window, and here's the program. Here's my package explorer sitting over here. Notice they make extensive use of panes and tab panes in the Eclipse IDE. So now I'm ready to run the program. So I'm going to say run as a Java application. Notice in order to do this, I need to have selected this hello world.java. So run as Java application, and so Eclipse said you haven't saved it, and typically you can either click always save resources before launching. I'm just going to say okay, save it. And it runs, and this is the tab with the console. That's the equivalent of a command prompt or a DOS prompt, and so we've run our first program. So that's pretty good. There's lots of things that we can explore in Eclipse. One thing I'll explore right now, and feel free to explore lots of things. I tend to like to have my curly braces lined up after one another. So I think I'm going to try and configure Eclipse so that it will line up my curly braces. In fact, I'm going to move things around here, put a couple of, I'm going to get my indentation all fouled up because sometimes when you're coding things don't look right. Now I'm going to ask it to put the curly braces on the same line. I'm going to say project properties, and I'm going to say Java code style formatter. Here's how you can set up your own style of formatting your program. This is just going to tell you how to format it. And I think I'm going to say let's do this for the whole workspace because I like to keep that keep things consistently. This is just a personal preference, and you can format yours the way you see fit. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a new profile, and I'm going to say I'm going to call it my profile, and I'm going to start the settings with the built-in Eclipse. Right now I'm just going to change a few things that I am particularly concerned about. The braces. I like my braces not on the same line to start on the same line, but on the next line. So I'm going to say next line, and I'm just going to mindlessly go through here and set them all to next line. And one other thing, it looks to me, I like to indent 3 spaces instead of 4. So I'm going to say for my white space, no, indentation is what I want to change. Let me move this over so I can see it. I want to change my indentation to 3 spaces. And I'll apply those changes. Notice that there's all sorts of things you can do. White space, blank lines, control statements, line wrapping, comments, etc. But I'm happy with these changes. So I'm going to just say OK. I'm going to say OK. And now, from now on when I start programs, they're going to have that form of indentation. This is sort of a real handy thing, I think, that a IDE such as Eclipse, one of the many, many, many things. I want to now format my program. I've gotten things all mixed up here. I'm going to say source, format, and notice everything's lined up, everything's indented 3 spaces, and it's a nice, neat program. Okay, I'm going to save what I have, and there's lots more things that you can do. You can use Eclipse to help you debug programs, like if I misspell something. I automatically see a little red thing. I can click on that. It says it doesn't know what print SLN is. I can also look if I have lots of problems. I can click on the problems, and there may be some errors down here. Okay, so I'm not sure if I didn't know what I could say here. I can also go back to system.out and hit a dot and just wait, and you're going to see a list of possible methods that you can use. And I'm going to scroll down here and just select print line. There's print, 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 lots of prints, printf, and I'm just going to say print line, and the one I want is with a string of something to print. Oop. Okay, so I'm going to get rid of those additional parentheses. Okay, let me just make sure it still runs. I can say run as, or there's a little shortcut over here. If I click down here, I might have a list of things I could run. I'm going to click Hello World. Just an alternate way. You can still click run as if you want. And I think I'm going to say always save resources before launching. And there's my Hello World. Okay, so we've created a Java project, not any type of project, a Java project called Hello World. In this project, remember, we elected to keep our source and our .class files in the same directory, so we don't see a source folder, but we could see a source folder if we had not done that. We now have Hello World, and we can make edits on it. At this point in this project, I can create new things. I can create new classes, and we'll go over a lot of other things later on that you might want to be able to create. In any event, that's our first experience with Hello World. There's lots more things that we can do, lots more ways that Eclipse can help us. but for now, that should take care of it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to close it up and save it. What's going to happen is that workspace is now going to be available to come back in the future, and I'll be able to reopen this up. And suggest you take your Eclipse out and give it a try.